we're going to be learning about conversions today, guys. And conversions talk about, Temba, if you can't see the work, my sweetie, I need you to just quickly hop out of the class. So leave the class and then come straight back in, okay? All right, so we're going to be looking at the idea of converting from millimeters to centimeters to meters to kilometers. Now, if I asked you guys, which of these is going to be bigger? If I have 1 millimeter and I have 1 centimeter and I have 1 meter and I have 1 kilometer, which one is biggest? Which one is the biggest? Adi? Good. Okay. Now, I know you're all going to say 1 kilometer because that makes so much sense, right? Now, if I asked you guys, which one has the greatest number of units? Okay. Now, if we're using 1 kilometer as our benchmark, which one of these, millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer, which one is going to have the greatest number of units? Excellent. I see everybody saying millimeter, miss, and I agree with you guys. It's millimeter. Okay. Now we're going to actually take 1 millimeter and we're going to, or 1 kilometer, and we're going to convert it from one to the other. So we have to look at the difference in distance or in measurement for each of these. Okay. Who can tell me, and I hope you guys can see what it is, who can tell me, has anybody ever seen one of these? Yeah, do you guys know what this is? What is this called? Does anybody know what it's called? It's nice and long. It's not, oh no, it's not a teacher ruler, my sweetie. It's not a teacher ruler. Okay. Or let me start with a simpler one. Let me start with a simpler one. They use it for the school board, true. Have you guys seen one of these? Do you know what this is? What is this? A flogging ruler. It's not a flog. Guys, I hope you guys are not getting still flogged at school. It's very illegal. This is a ruler, right? And a ruler is measured in 2 things. What measurements, what kind of measurements do we find on a ruler? Good. We get centimeters and we get millimeters. Excellent. Excellent. We get centimeters and we get millimeters, just like this little drawing that I have down here, this one over here. Right. Now, this over here is 1 centimeter. And if I count 1 centimeter over here, right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 millimeters. So for every 1 centimeter, how many millimeters do I have, guys? If I have 1 centimeter, how many millimeters do I have? Pop it in the chat. You guys can do a direct comparison because I've given you this nice ruler over here. This is 1 centimeter and this is 10 centimeters, or millimeters, not centimeters, sorry, millimeters, 10 millimeters. Excellent. Now, if I asked you guys, if I said, I have, oh, let's make it 5 centimeters. How many millimeters am I going to have, guys? Good. I'm going to have 50 millimeters. And I can see it on my ruler here. 5 centimeters will give me 50 millimeters. Okay. This is easy stuff. I'm not even asking that much of you guys. It's easy, easy, easy stuff, right? Now, this thing that I've actually just shown you guys is not called a teacher ruler. It's called a meter stick. Okay, you guys need to remember this. It's called a meter stick. Okay, a meter stick. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys again. Tell me in the chat, this thing that I'm holding, what is it called? What is this thing called? Tell me in the chat, everyone. What am I holding? It's a meter stick. I know. Olanda's like meter stick. How original. I know. It's called a meter stick. Excellent. And somebody says to me, Miss, what is it used for? It's used to measure meters, dude. The same way that a ruler is used to measure centimeters and millimeters, a meter stick is used to measure meters. Okay. Now, a meter stick is exactly 1 meter long. That's why it's called a meter stick. No crazy starting. Therefore, we have a meter stick. Okay. Okay, this is called a meter stick. Now, guys, if I had to ask you, right, where would I use a meter stick? What can you guys think of? What can you guys think of that I could measure with a meter stick? What could I possibly measure with a meter stick? Can anybody think of anything? No, crazy, what do you think? Sure, Google it. If I had to use a meter stick to calculate kilometers, Randile, I agree. We could use a meter stick to measure a desk or a door. Nice one, Liam. Okay. You can measure people. Excellent. I like it. We can measure people. We can measure the size of a classroom. We can measure a TV. What else can we measure? We can measure height. Yes, no crazy. That's a good one. A table. Excellent. We can use a meter to measure a lot of these things. Good. The size of a school board. Right. Now, the size of a class, Randile is like, how? Well, if you consider that classes are measured in meters, so your classroom will be something like 12 meters by 10 meters. That's how they measure making your classroom. Then you can see that you cannot measure it in centimeters or kilometers, right? Now, guys, let's say, for instance, I had to calculate for a desk. If I had to measure a desk, could I use millimeters to measure a desk? What do you guys think? Well, I mean, technically I can do it, but is it logical for me to use millimeters to measure a desk? Tabang is like, yes or no? No, Tabang, you have to pick one. You have to pick one. It's not, guys, it's not sensible. Imagine me sitting there with my tiny little ruler measuring, okay, 30, because my ruler only goes to 30 centimeters and 300 millimeters. So I have to sit there going 300 millimeters, draw a dot, and then go plus 300 millimeters, draw another dot, and then go another 300 millimeters. It will take forever. And Randile, you're right. I can, but I would be taking up a whole lot of my time for absolutely no reason. So it doesn't make sense for me to measure big things with small measurements. Yes, Tabang, your hand, definitely. Imagine, what if I took my meter stick and I tried to measure my hand? Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense for me to try and measure my hand with a whole meter stick? No. It would be easier for me to use. What would I use to measure my hand? Tyler's like, never. It would be better to measure it in millimeters or in centimeters. So you can use a normal ruler to measure a hand, right? You guys get it? So it's easy for us to make the comparison between big numbers and small numbers. If I have to measure the distance from my house to the shop, to the local Pick n Pay, guys, am I going to measure the distance from my house to the shop in centimeters? Well, I mean, I could, but it would take me forever and I'd never get to the shop and I'd never buy what I need. But it would be better for me to measure in kilometers. Okay, excellent. Okay, Lingom, so we could measure in meters, but remember, a meter is almost like a step you can take. Okay, so if you're standing in one place and you take a big step, that's almost the size of a meter. That's almost the length of a meter. Tyler, you're correct. I could, but it would take forever. Okay, so when we think of a meter is almost like a big step that I take. That's the size of a meter. Okay. So when we think about measuring from the shop, I'm not going to take like 1,600 or 16,000 big steps just to get to the shop. Okay. So it's easier for me to calculate it in kilometers. Okay. But if I'm measuring my classroom, I can stand on one side of my classroom and count my steps from one side of the classroom to the other. And I can measure my classroom in, guys, what can I measure my classroom in? What do you guys think? Good. I can measure it in meters. Okay. All right, excellent. Okay, I hope you guys understand that. Okay, there are some things we cannot measure, or we can measure them, but they don't make sense for us to measure them in bigger numbers than we would in smaller numbers. And this is why, okay? We're going to be converting 1 kilometer into meters, and then into centimeters, and then into millimeters, okay? Now, for every, I want you guys to hear me, for every 1 kilometer, how many meters do I get? Who knows? How many meters do I get? No worries, no matamsanga. Okay. For every 1 kilometer, how many meters do I get? Good. I get 1,000 meters. Okay. It's not 100, guys. It's 1,000 meters. Now, I need to ask you guys, how did I get from 1 kilometer to 1,000 meters? What did I do? What did I do, guys? Good. Nokwezi, you've got the right idea. What did I do? I multiplied, not by 10. What did I multiply by, guys? Tayeto, think about it. From 1 to 1,000. I multiplied by? Good. By 1,000. I multiplied by 1,000. Good. Now, to get from 100 meters to centimeters, I'm going to do this first. Okay, hold on. For every 1 meter, how many centimeters do I get, guys? Good. Okay, good, Nokwezi. And Tyler, you've got it this time. Excellent. I get 100 centimeters. So I'm going to ask you guys again, to get from 1 meter to 100 centimeters, what did I do? How did I get from 1 to 100? Excellent. I times, or I multiplied by 100. So I went from here to there and I multiplied by 100. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to remove this because that's not the point. Okay. To get from 1 centimeter, how many centimeters are there in, or how many millimeters are there in 1 centimeter? Good, Olonda Nokwezi. You guys can do this job for me. There are 10 millimeters. So I'm going to ask you guys again, how did I get from 1 centimeter to 10 millimeters? What did I do? Good. I multiplied by 10. Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to remove this as well. Okay. So I need you guys to pull out your calculators because this is where this is going to go. Okay. I like that. I like that, Nokwezi. I like that attitude. Now, 1 kilometer is equal to how many meters, guys? No worries, Master Chaba. 1 kilometer is equal to, how many meters is 1 kilometer equal to? 1,000. Good. It's equal to 1,000 meters. And that's because I multiplied by 1,000. Now I want to ask you guys, 1 kilometer is equal to how many centimeters? Okay. Now, in order to calculate for this, what I have to do is I have to go from 1 kilometer, I have to go 1 kilometer times 1,000 times 100. I have to multiply by both of them. Yes, no crazy, you've got it. Times 1,000 times 100. How much is that going to give me, guys? And I'm now like squinting to see how many zeros you guys put into that answer. Okay, it is actually 100,000. 100,000. There we go. Well done, guys. Okay, now I need to ask you, 1 kilometer is equal to how many millimeters? Now, how are we going to get there, guys? How are we going to get there? I know. It's like, yo, ma'am, how could you? How are we going to get there? Well, what I have to do is I have to go 1 kilometer times 1,000 times 100 times 10. So 1 kilometer is equal to how many millimeters? That's going to be 1 million. Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 millimeters. Whew. So imagine, guys, imagine measuring my distance from my house to the shop in millimeters. I would have to, for every kilometer, I would have to count 1 million, 2 million times, 3 million times, 4 million times. I would never get to the shop. Like, I would never, ever get to the shop. So it makes a lot more sense for me to measure the long distances in kilometers and the small distances in millimeters. I would like you guys to let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. How are we feeling about multiplying? Or how getting from big distances to small distances? How are we feeling? Olanda's already learned it, so yeah, easy. It's easy for you guys. Excellent. I'm loving it. Ma'am, my maths teacher said if you didn't understand, she'll call you up to the board to do the sum. Oh, but then you don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand how that makes any sense. Okay. All right. I see. Okay. Excellent. Now, guys, we're not done. We need to do this in reverse. We have to do it in reverse. Okay. If I say to you, I've got 1 million millimeters, that is going to equal to the same thing as 100,000 centimeters. Guys, how did I get from 1 million millimeters to 100,000 centimeters? What did I do? I divided by, how much did I divide by? I'm dividing. How much did I divide by? Khotsa's got the right idea. Excellent. I'm going to divide by 10. Good stuff. Okay. Now I want to know, how did I get from 100,000 centimeters to 1,000 meters? What did I do? Excellent, Olonda. Excellent. I divided by 100. Okay. I divided by 100. Now I'm going to ask you guys again one more time. How did I get from 1,000 meters to 1 kilometer? What did I do? I divided by 1,000. 2, 3. Okay. All right. So the reason why I want us to do this funky looking exercise over here is not because the thousands and the millions are important. They're not. I can remove them. Okay. I'm going to remove them actually. There we go. Okay. So what I want you guys to notice is if I ask you, if I give you an answer in millimeters and I tell you to convert it to centimeters. I'm going from here to there. What do I need to do, guys? Do I need to multiply or do I need to times? I mean, divide, sorry. What do I need to do? Multiply or divide? I know, Tyler. I need to divide. Good. If I asked you guys, I want you guys to move from meters to centimeters. Do I multiply or do I divide? Good. Now, that times by 100 is very important. And that divide by 10 is very important because I need to make sure that I know how much I need to multiply or divide by. Okay, I hope you guys are getting me. You need to know, and I want to draw these a little bit neater, actually. I just want to move this out of the way. I need everyone, if you can, you're either going to replicate this in your book, if you have a Watobe book, or you are going to take a screenshot. Give me a second, because you're going to need this for what we're doing next. Okay. We are going to do a quick 3-minute exercise, and then we're going to be out of here. Okay. Awesome. All right. I'm going to give everyone 3 minutes to convert. Okay. We are only doing these questions, these ones. Okay. So I'm going from centimeter to millimeter. I'm going to ask you guys, what am I doing? Am I multiplying or am I dividing? Tell me in the chat, everyone. What am I doing? Am I going to multiply or am I going to divide? Now I'm getting like conflicting answers. Let's have a look. I'm going from centimeter. I'm going from centimeter. Let me use from centimeter to meter, to millimeters. So what am I going to do, guys? I'm going to multiply. That's why I'm saying you guys are going to need this. It's very important. But guys, how much am I multiplying by? How much am I multiplying by? Multiply by 10. Excellent. Excellent stuff. So we need to remember this. That's why I'm saying, guys, take a screenshot. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. Okay, good. Now, let's go back to the question. I want you guys to answer 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. Everybody's got, I'll give you guys 4 minutes. And when you're done, pop the word done in the chat for me. Okay, only after you've answered each of them. Okay, so in this first one here, we know we're going to multiply. So I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to type in 2,08 times 10. And that's going to give me 20,8 millimeters. Okay, and you're going to take the same idea and you're going to use it with that one. But don't forget, in this one, I'm going from centimeters, which is smaller, and I'm going to meters, which is bigger. So what am I going to do? I'm going to divide. Well done, Tabang. You're getting the idea. Okay. Once we're done with this, you guys have 2 minutes left. Adi says it's done. Sam is done. For which one, Nokwezi? Which one are you on? That's okay, Bukang. That's not a problem, Nokwezi. It's fine. You can start at 2. Okay, I'm going to start putting some answers in the chat. Okay, I've got 489. I'm going from centimeters, something small, to meters, something big. So I'm going to divide by, from centimeters to meters is 100. That's okay, Bukan. Yes, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to divide 489 centimeters divided by 100 will give me 4,89 meters. Okay, pop your answers in the chat for this next one. Okay, I'm going from centimeters, something big, to millimeters, something smaller. So I'm going to multiply by 10. Okay, Nokwezi is saying 10, ma'am, not 100. Let's go have a look, Nokwezi. Let's go have a look. When I go from centimeter to meter, what do I need to do? I need to divide by how much? By 100. So make sure you're not making that mistake. Okay, we're going to multiply by 100. Okay. For this next one, I'm going to times by 10. So my answer is going to be 455 millimeters. No problem, my sweetie. When we make mistakes, that's how we learn. That's how we learn. All right. Let's look at 2B, guys. I'm going from centimeter to millimeter, from something big to small. So what am I going to do? I'm going to times by 10. So 32,45 centimeters is equal to, I'm going to wait for someone to pop it in the chat for me. There we go. Thank you, Albert. 324,5 millimeters. All right. Then over here, I'm going from centimeter to meter. I'm going from something small to something big. So I'm going to divide by 100. And if I divide by 100, what am I going to get? Nice one, Zukiswa. 9,03 meters. Now, in this next one, guys, I'm going from millimeters, something small, to centimeters, to something big. So I'm going to divide by 10. I'm dividing by 10. So this, from 31 millimeters, I'm going to go to 3,1 centimeters. Okay, this is where we're going to stop for today. We are out of time. Okay, you guys are going to have to practice this. Okay, you're going to have to practice this. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to take a screenshot of the rest of these so you can go and practice with them. Please answer the PACE poll for us, and then we can get going.